Hey, it's your favorite strange visitors from another planet. And yes, we've been having our little delays and everything else. Some cuffs have been rotated and life happens and everything. But we'll hopefully be back on a fairly regular schedule. And Greg, if you were a kryptonite, what color would you be?
I would be jewel kryptonite. Because it's so pretty and shiny.
How many of them are there? There's white, there's blue, there's red, there's green, there's gold.
Yeah. Did you know that kryptonite was originated on the radio show?
The radio show.
When I found that, I was like, that's interesting. There's actually a lot of stuff from the radio show that they adapted. Jimmy Olsen first appeared on the radio show, and I'm trying to think. There was some other stuff.
What about now? I know Gotham was but was it originally Metropolis or was it just New York? I mean, for Metropolis, was it always Metropolis?
Well, I think it was always Metropolis, but the newspaper was called the Daily Star for a while. They didn't come up with Daily Planet till later. But you know what's really interesting? I listened to this thing on Sirius XM because they have a. Oh no, it wasn't Sirius. Sorry, it was America's Stories or something. It's a podcast, and they were doing an ad, and they said that, did you know that once Superman battled the Ku Klux Klan? And that was one of the radio stories. And there was another one called, I have that one, it's called something, The Skin Game, and it was all about these kids on a track team, and apparently they were of a different race, and they were being targeted. I mean, and now you got to remember, that's 1945 or so, and they were dealing with that stuff, and they used to have little ads on the radio show in between. You know, kids, have you ever felt like you're the guy that always gets picked on at school? Well, that's not right. And they used to have all these morality things, and it was very interesting.
By the way, it's the 85th anniversary of Superman, so that's why we're talking about it a lot. Can you imagine?
American icon.
Just imagine, though, you create something. Hey, what are you doing? I have my sunglasses on. But can you imagine? Can you imagine, though, like you create something, and the thing about, like, Siegel and Schuster, what did they do?
They got reamed.
No, actually, you read about it. They sold it because they thought it wasn't going to last.
Right.
They thought, they came up with the Spectre, they came up with a Gangbuster or somebody else, there was some other character.
But they sold it for like $200 or something.
What was the thing? But thing, can you imagine, though, you get like it's not going to last, it's not going to last.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, you know, and it's funny, I was watching a DVD of the Fleischer cartoons, and it was a DC issued one. And there was a special feature on there, Man Myth, Superman, something like that. And they went all the way back in history to Hercules and all these, but they said every civilization had some sort of hero drama stories, and the stories were basically always the same throughout history of the struggles and the evil and this and that. And they said, I thought this was a bit of a stretch, but Michael Uslan there was on there, and he goes, well, look at the cuneiform things and the hieroglyphics. He goes, well, those are like comic books. Those are like comic panels. And I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe, sort of.
Well, Stan Lee said, basically, what are the superheroes? They're just the Greek gods. It's just mythology.
Right.
So you got the strong guy, the fast guy. How many use the legend of go from Moses, Oedipus, everybody, I think Osiris, where they find the kid abandoned.
Right.
Like Superman coming they find the kid abandoned and raised, who turns out to be... And they always said there's an allegory, like, between Batman and Superman. Batman represented, like, the Gilded Age, the old money.
Right.
Like, while Superman represented the immigrant. You came here, you could do anything.
Yeah.
So that's why Batman was all grumpy and grim, and Superman was positive.
I always liked the way they analyzed the secret identity deal, because they said, well, Superman is actually Clark Kent. Really. And they said that Bruce Wayne is the disguise, but Batman is his real personality. I think that's very interesting.
Very deep. But there's also the one, I'd like somebody, like, I could look this up, but remember for early days of Batman, Harvey Dent was Harvey Kent?
No.
He was Harvey Kent. I was reading some of the...
Oh, wow.
I'm wondering if they changed it because people were writing in, wondering if this was like Clark Kent's evil cousin.
Yeah, well, maybe. Sure. That would make sense. Yeah, continuity. Ever since that John Byrne did that 80s reboot thing, I mean, the whole mythology got twisted up. I mean, after that, I kind of got lost track of a lot of
Well, I
stuff.
shocked some people at the comic book store, a lot of like younger people, where I said, well, you read Superman. You know why Lex Luthor turned evil, right? Well, he was an evil businessman. No, you know why he really turned evil?
No.
Basically, for my reason, he lost his hair.
Ah.
Because remember, they were friends when they were kids, and what happened was like a kryptonite, so it must have taken
There was a fire.
Yeah,
Superboy put out a fire.
Was there was like a kryptonite meteorite crashed, and so it must have been after the radio show. And I think Luthor, was he invented on the radio show even, maybe? I don't know.
But he was in the movie serial.
Yeah.
He was in Atom Man.
But what they did was, he took his tractor and he plowed away the kryptonite meteor. He saved Superboy. They became friends, but Luthor was experimenting. He was like a little scientist. He was exploring.
Right.
He did a Jack Parsons. He basically blew something up in his little thing. At Superman came, he blew the flames up. When he blew the flames out, his hair fell.
The chemicals
he
mixed
became,
up or something. Yeah.
as we all do when we start going bald, we became mad at the world.
That's right.
But
We
you ever
just wanna
do a
kill
what
everybody.
if? You ever do a what if and think, this guy became like a billionaire, this brilliant inventor. Couldn't he have grown some hair or got a really good toupee?
Right. Well, hatred doesn't have much common sense. If you really hate somebody, you just want to hate them, and that you live for that hate. And I think that's what they really try to capitalize on is these guys, they're on this single-minded agenda. They're all ADD. They have one thing in their head, and that's it.
Well, the whole theory about the villains, too, that Tom Baker, Doctor Who, said this one time. He said the thing to remember if you play a villain, and he always wanted to play Dracula or something, the villain always thinks he's right and he's doing good. And Lex Luthor would say, Superman's preventing me from saving the world and from having all these advancements.
Yeah. Well, I did like some of the stuff in the movies, what they tried to tap into, like Lex Luthor thinking that Superman was this god, and this whole paranoia that, because I mean that's happened before, like in stories they say, well, what if Superman didn't want to be a nice guy and do good things?
They tried to do on Lois and Superman. I've only watched. If you watch this series at all,
it's pretty good.
They tried to do the whole thing in the first season where Superman's an alien and he's a threat.
Yeah.
They've done that in the comics too, like that.
Well, I think that reflects more of the modern times, because I mean, would we really just accept this guy?
Well, did you ever see Brightburn?
No, but I saw it on
that is warped
on online. I want to watch it.
It's Mark Millar did it, so you know it's crazy. But it's about they don't use the name, but this couple adopts a
kid comes down and he's evil,
and he's kind of psychotic.
Right,
it's a little difference there. It's a little difference.
I saw it. I was on HBO Max the other day, and actually this morning I was watching. Have you seen the Perry Mason reboot that they did?
No.
Very, very good. If you watch it, because it takes place in the 1920s. And he's kind of like he's a down on his luck attorney. He just takes all the scummy cases, and he's not the suave guy that they portrayed later. And it's pretty good. And there's a Fatty Arbuckle reference in there. And
I'll still never. That's one case I'd like to. I know John Candy wanted to play him in a movie, and I don't know enough about it, but it sounds like he might have just gotten. I don't if he was guilty or not. But his career got ruined.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough about it to say if he was or wasn't.
He raped somebody, I believe.
That's the thing. Did he do it, though, or not? No, but going back to, old comedians, and, I would say Keaton's the greatest, but Harold Lloyd's my favorite.
Oh, yeah, Harold Lloyd.
Harold Lloyd is, and can you imagine, I know, the clock, safety last, with the angles make it more dangerous looking, but still, come on.
But even the backdrops and the projections and the things that they did back, for silent era, they were pretty advanced.
But the general with Keaton, with the scene with the house, they only had one shot.
Right. He had to stand in just the right spot and all that, yeah.
It's fascinating, though. I love those. I could watch those all day.
I have a bunch of those on old VHS things that I recorded.
PBS used to show them a lot.
Right. So I think I recorded them from that. And I have some of those, and I have... I have some of the Silent Little Rascals, too.
Oh,
when
wow.
we first started out.
Do they have, now what came first? Did the radio show come first or the Fleischer cartoons? Do you know? I don't know.
I believe the Fleischer cartoons were 41 and 42. So I think the radio show was
47.
Was a little bit after that.
Yeah.
No, the radio show went from 40 something to I'm not quite sure. I'd have to look it up.
You don't have to look it up.
It went quite a long time.
The beauty of it these days, like YouTube's a treasure trove for old radio shows.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. You could find all these great episodes of these old things.
Which reminds me, I should lend you, but I got to get them back. I bought a bunch of.
You heard it on air. I do. I can't sell them.
No, don't buy anything from this man. It's mine if he's trying to sell. No, I got some Green Hornet and Shadow box sets of CDs, and they're really, really good.
Oh, but now, of course, the first Superman was the Kirk Allen.
Right.
And I still love the effects in that. I don't care. It was Luthor. He was with Atomic Man, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was the Atom Man. Yeah.
Atom Man.
Yeah, it was interesting. Lyle Talbot, he was a great actor too.
He was like I think they called him one of like the Olivier's of bad movies because he was in like Ed Wood, all these old.
Well, he was Ozzie Nelson's neighbor on the Ozzie and Harriet show.
But I love the flying. Isn't the flying cool in that where you go like it's a little like animation, then he lands?
Well, which is funny because they even tried harder on TV with a less of a budget. And they did better, which is very strange.
Not controversial, but you know my call on this. I still think Phyllis Coates is the best.
I love Phyllis Coates.
I think she was like you would call the old-time noir dame.
Yeah.
Where she was tough.
Oh, yeah. And she, she looked right. The outfit was good. The hair was good. Everything. And her attitude, she was like.
Not that Noelle Neal was fine, but she was more like Alice Cramden to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she was a lot gentler. But, yeah, Phyllis Coates was just so, I don't care what you say, I'm going to go check this out,
Yeah, she was always like the one where there's the killer like in the gas mask killing everybody. I'm just going to go drive down.
Yeah.
But that's what happened with the show. This said the first year was, you go watch those episodes. First it was like hardcore crime.
Right. Well, that first season was on the backs of the radio show, and it was the same producer. So that's why it was. And if you listen to the radio shows, they're much more crime oriented. There are some scientific things. There's a couple of ray things, and I invented this ray, and it's going to do this or that. So they tried to be more scientific, but I think they were smart on the TV show to stay away from a lot of that stuff.
Well, you can't do it, though, too. That's the thing. You just don't have the budget. Look
Right.
at, like, the robots and stuff they had on there.
Oh, yeah. I love the runaway robot. I love that episode.
One of the episodes that always sticks in my head is when they trap Superman and Lois in a bathysphere.
Yeah.
They figure, okay, he can't get out. And he thinks of, well, I just open it, I'll pull it up.
Yeah. There's a lot of physics issues with
that. And
that.
then the other one that cracks me up is the one where they go back in time.
Right.
Then Superman just I followed you back here.
But I can't get back.
Well, where's Mr. Kent? We don't know where he is.
Well, there was an interesting thing. I was watching some YouTube thing about, goofs in that series. And there were the typical ones like the ducking the gun and stuff like that. But, they were, he traveled through time in the comics all the time.
Oh, yeah, but he
No
couldn't
pun
take
intended.
him. You figure he could just say, well, I can't take you back with me. We'll kill you.
So, I don't know. They had to do that for drama reasons, I suppose.
But, like, Jimmy Olsen was just, like, such the whole wholesome 1950s boy.
Yeah.
Golly gee, Mr. Kent.
He was great, though.
No,
Jack
he was perfect.
Larson embodied
He's
that.
one of those guys, I think, his whole life he had the same haircut.
Yeah.
But wasn't he was in Superman Returns? I know Noelle Neal was. He was the widow.
Yeah, he was the bartender when they were in the bar.
And he was on Lois and Clark, too, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and Phyllis Coates played Lois's mother.
She's still alive.
Yeah.
She's like 96 years old.
I actually saw her. It's really funny, man. She was in a Leave It to Beaver episode. She played this neighbor, and it was like this weird story where, I don't know, but she looked completely different. Her hair was long, and it was like, you almost can't tell it's her.
The other funny thing about Adventures of Superman, too, was like there's one guy especially who played the mobster in almost every other episode. He was like one of the goons.
Oh, Ben Weldon?
Yeah. It's like, God,
I'll tell you, man, I got some old movies with him. He played like this, lumberjack guy in one movie, and he was like always a bouncer. He's been in movies since the 30s.
Other guy shows up a lot. It's actually the guy who
he was in Batman too.
Oh, he was.
He was in the if you watch the well, not one of my favorite episodes, but the one with Vincent Price, their Egghead. He was one of his cronies in that.
Yeah, you start just doing the egg puns the rest of the day and everything. Yeah. But that's like also too. I would say like Superman, the Mole Men's awesome.
Oh yeah,
that's fantastic. And I mean, if you get the set of the Superman thing, they'll give you the movie or they'll give you the when they broke it up.
Well, that's a good example of like the radio show philosophy is like that whole persecution thing, and because a lot of those radio shows dealt with prejudice and persecution, and I think they were trying to make their point with that, that you don't, just because you don't understand it, you want to kill it, and all that.
And I think it's true. It's like you go like the fourth will be here before we know it. I mean, every country has problems, and we do. But trying to live up to the ideals of America, what we should be.
Oh, happy Memorial Day almost. By the way,
it's almost Memorial Day too. This should be out beforehand, unless Lex Luthor gets to it.
And speaking of Memorial Day and 4th of July, I would like to say what I always say on these holidays. It's not about hot dogs and beer. It's about the freedom to have hot dogs and beer. Thank you.
Or not to have burgers.
That's right. Or gluten-free. Hey, it's your right.
That's what we fought for all those years ago. Very good.
That's why we killed all those. Never mind.
I can hear them. Dun, 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 dun. And of course we have the story. You've seen Hollywoodland, right?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Do you have any idea on like George Reeves? You think he just killed himself, or like?
It's so hard to say. I mean, it was weird. He had the party, and then he didn't want to deal with the party, and then he came. Then they hear the shot. So who the hell knows?
But that was actually one of my games. I played the Superman game on like if you go through the last couple of seasons, he would go to lunch, he'd get fizzled, and you could see him on the show being fairly out of it. Just like Ed Norton on The Honeymooners or
right.
something. Because Jackie Gleason was drunk all the time. He was functional.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I guess he is like a functional drunk. But Art Carney couldn't. You could see a couple of these.
Well, when he had his variety show in the 70s, was it? Well, anyway, there was always this rumor that he had booze in the coffee cup that he had sitting there.
I've heard. Have you ever seen actually the Baron, good old Baron, our great from our last jam, and he shall return.
Yes.
But he told me I missed this. Have you ever seen The Life of Riley?
I love Life of Riley.
He said Gleason plays like almost like a version of Riley. He's like svelte in it, but I thought William Bendix was in it though. Like he was like.
Yeah, he was. He was on the radio version too.
Yeah.
What a revolting development.
That's where it comes from, though. But I mean, you don't know. It's weird because, like, the story on George Reeves is everybody liked him. Supposedly, he was like,
he was a good guy. He liked the kids, and he talked that kid down from.
Yeah, that was like one of the things. I guess like they had the thing like the Three Stooges would have to tell people don't be whacking each other over the head with like iron pokers.
Yeah.
But like not to try to jump off your roof. But they had the one where this is a true story too, where the kid pointed the gun at him.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's in Hollywoodland, but supposedly everything I've heard is true.
But he didn't want to smoke around him and stuff like that, which I thought was kind of cool.
It was actually like Bruno Sammartino, the wrestler. He took it seriously as champ, and he said after his matches, and I take it like they were like on the afternoon during the week, he would go to an Italian restaurant, have dinner, and he said he'd like to have a glass of wine with dinner. No big deal, right? He said if he saw any families with kids, he wouldn't because he didn't want to see a kid.
Right.
Can you imagine anybody say that now? Some of these athletes, well, I won't snort coke.
Yeah. Hey, who's that guy that's smoking that joint?
I see some of these guys like that. But he took it seriously because that's how Superman was. Superman was like, and that's what I always say like about Superman too. When you do, he's not dark or complex. I mean, you could have like a whole thing about he's an orphan, but he's optimistic.
Yeah, right. He's always going for the good fight, and he's always hopeful, which is a good lesson to learn. I mean, it's easy to get down, it's easy to see the darker side of stuff, but it's funny too. They in these special features I was watching, they were talking about how everything kind of got mushed together because like up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, faster than speed, all that stuff came from the cartoons.
Yeah, because remember didn't actually. I think it's coming. I have an idea. Didn't it start where like he was like sort of like the Hulk though? At first he just leaped. That's why it said he leaped.
And they said this looks stupid. Fleischer said this looks ridiculous. We got to have him fly. Can't we have him fly? And DC finally said, yeah, I guess. So because he was just hopping around like playing leapfrog over buildings.
Like the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
But there's like another point too, and someone like I think simplicity sometimes. We get wallowed down and too complex, like in everything. It's like actually my friend Pat Thomas, you know Pat.
Yeah.
He wrote a post about something I actually said about Prague a few times. I love the musicianship, but sometimes you don't have that feel like with singer-songwriters.
Well, the stuff is so precise.
Yeah.
It's like you have to play it the way it is or it's not the same tune.
But there was I forgot who it was. It wasn't Kurt Swan. It was some Superman writer, maybe Dan Jurgens, where he said, you know, back in the old days, like you read the old comic, Superman would be flying across the ocean. A dragon would come up, blast him, go back in the water.
Yeah.
These days, it would be a 3-series issue build up to the dragon,
right?
What it was and everything.
You see the tail,
and I think the 50s were a great time for like goofy comics too. Like a lot of people like criticize Batman the TV show, and hey, it saved the comic, but. They did goofy Batman in the 50s. It was Batman.
Oh, yeah. Rainbow Batman.
The Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, like the space Batman.
Yeah. And I think, again, I've said this before, when that TV show came out in 66.
Oh, and Harriet was
that's what they had to draw from. I mean, if he was looking at 1960s Batman comics, they were kind of silly.
He carried a gun, I think, though, like in the early 30s or 40s. They actually carried a,
Oh, yeah, he had a gun, and yeah, it was interesting.
And they drew on that, but they brought back Alfred, because Alfred had been killed in the comic, but he was so popular.
Right.
And they created Aunt Harriet for another reason.
Yeah, I know about that.
Then they got rid of her. You know, she vanished to go visit relatives when Batgirl came on, because then it was all right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole point, the campiness of that show...
I love the show. So
Me too, because I still maintain this. They tried to show how ridiculous it would be if that world was in our three-dimensional world. Because, especially like the dialogue. What do you think, Robin? I don't know, Batman. Gosh, Batman. You're right, Robin. I mean, by using the names in every sentence and all that stuff.
Unfortunately or unfortunately, you know, we try to avoid politics on here, but I had to laugh a little. There's an episode with the Penguin on. And he let him out of prison, right?
Yeah.
He gets out, and the warden's going, our progressive reforms don't seem to be working.
Oh, I know.
They let him, they tried to let him wear his...
I tried my progressive
They catch him right on camera. What crimes am I going to do?
Well, they got away with a lot on that
remember,
show,
like,
man.
Mayor Lindsay from Mayor Lindsay? But I think the thing was, Adam West is a genius.
He was.
Because how many people, could you think of like anybody, and Leslie Nielsen tried to do it with his police squad.
Yeah.
When you have to play this character, you can't like wink, chuckle. You have to play completely straight.
Right. And you know, there's no looking at the camera and all that kind of stuff.
Or like, you know, Commissioner Gordon and everything else. Hamilton, right? Neil Hamilton.
And he's an old actor, too.
I saw him in a Hammer film, like The Devil's Hand or something.
Yeah, Devil's Hand's a great movie.
And then Alan Napier, of course, he's been in a lot of, like, British films. But the way they play, like, the police, Bigora!
Yeah.
They're pretty incompetent because they think of Batman for everything, but, you know, all like, but that's how it was in those days. I was watching some Dragnets, and I just get, you know, nobody does hippies, like the one with the blue boy with the ass.
I like the 50s Dragnets better.
That one's awesome. But the thing was, that's how they drew, that's how stuff was those days where, you know, the man was the man was good. You know, they were pure of purpose and everything.
Yeah, you think about it, if you listen to all these old radio shows, because I have this one on my Roku, it's called Crime Time or something like that. It's just all radio shows. But it's all cop-oriented, but they have Green Hornet and The Shadow and stuff like that. But it's mostly like, you know, this is your FBI, and I was a communist for the FBI. Have you ever heard that one? That's crazy stuff. I mean, apparently this guy did that for 7 years. He infiltrated the communist. Well, anyway, but it was always no nonsense. And you got to remember, in the 20s and 30s, crime was off the charts. You know, with Prohibition and everything else, and we're kind of cycling back to it now.
The only thing is,
the more you let people get away with, and I don't want to get on a rant here, but it just seems like the more you let people get away with, and the kinder you try to be with laws, the more people take advantage of it.
But I remember I got stuck the one time I didn't realize was at Danger's party house, and I ended up having dinner with these mobsters. And I'm like, then they're afterwards, they're like,
well, they owned all the bars.
They gave me the bill, though, and I, what's this with the bill? And he goes, kid, we're crime. Crime don't pay.
I like that.
I had to get the cheesy joke in. I'm going to jump way ahead for a minute, then go back. But I've been wanting to ask you for weeks, but we've had all our guests. What did you think of the Black Adam movie? Because I know you saw it.
I liked it. I didn't finish it. I had about 10 minutes to go.
You didn't miss. Oh, yeah, you did miss something.
But I thought it was good. I don't see what all the negativity was about. I thought it was a fine movie. It didn't bother me.
You missed the Superman cameo.
Yeah, but I'll see it. It's on HBO Max. I'll just have to go back.
You know what happened, though.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Black Adam and Namor are so alike in a lot of ways, where they're nationalists.
Right.
They just want to protect their lands and everything. Now, it was a little bit by, it was a little by the books. What's wrong with that? It wasn't as violent as you think. It was just...
I thought the story was good. I don't know. I enjoyed it.
And for me, one of my favorite comics of the decade is Jeff Johns' Justice Society. So I love all those characters coming out.
Right. I just watched, again, HBO Max has some great stuff. I just watched the Legion of Superheroes with the kids from the future, the teens. And Supergirl goes back in time. Superman sends her back, or sends her into the future. And she becomes a part of the Legion of Superheroes. But the story was really good. The dialogue was really good. They captured the teen mindset without, making it stupid. Like, the girls weren't going as if, there wasn't any of that Valley Girl stuff.
That could be my favorite 1970s comic.
Yeah, I love that
I love that. And I love the big, oversized book with Mordo where they go back in time.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite stories of all time. Then the Reject League, like all these characters who didn't make it or whatever.
Bouncing Boy should have been in that.
Did you see Have you seen this too? I have actually. I own this too. Was it the 60s or 70s? The Superman cartoons they had after the Flight Show.
I have those, yeah.
Which are pretty awesome. I mean, that's when like the Aquaman one came out.
And Bud Collyer did the voice for that.
And then they had Batman with Burt West and Adam.
Yeah.
Burt Ward Adam. But in the 70s.
I got a bunch of those. I got the Superboy ones too. I got a VHS of them. Bob Hastings did the voice for Superboy, and he was in a bunch of old radio stuff, like sci-fi things. And he played in McHale's Navy. He was the captain or whatever. Who was the captain?
I've not.
He was the
many
captain's
of those shows.
assistant.
Oh,
if
the
you watch,
Center maybe or whatever they call him.
No, who was the Joe? Whatever the head guy. His assistant was Bob Hastings.
I remember.
Yeah,
but I don't remember. But then, of course, like I'll say too, once you get
Joe Flynn, or
once you get the Donner cut of the Superman 2, you can't go back.
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely great. I had a thing for watching Superman 3 the other day, and I went to look for it, and I know I have it, and I could not find it.
Maybe the red kryptonite got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I saw Superman in the movies, and this is still by some considered the best superhero movie of all time.
Yeah. Have you ever? This is a little bit off the track, but it's the same.
It's the Carnival. Are you kidding?
Yeah. But have you ever watched the deleted scenes in Batman Forever?
Yeah.
That would have been really cool to have that in there.
I gotta admit, too, like, I used to love that movie. More and more, Jim Carrey's Riddler's annoys the hell out of me.
Yeah, but I still think it's a...
Now,
I like
Tommy
that
Lee
movie
Jones
because
is awesome.
It straddled... It had just enough campiness to make it work.
That holy rusted metal.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
The metal, it's rusted.
Yeah, full of holes.
No, a lot of people complained about it, but I actually really liked it.
I did too. It was just the next one was the one that was terrible.
Oh, that's like on my list of like all time. That lost when they were singing the Cold Miser song. That's what I just sort of and I think Clooney could have been a good Batman.
Yeah,
he's a good actor.
Good Bruce Wayne.
I just watched From Dusk Till Dawn recently.
Yeah.
That's so much fun.
That's great.
That's awesome though. But it's like, so do you remember Superman 3?
Yeah. In fact, there's a
I'll do Richard Pryor.
There's a TV version of that too that's longer that has a bunch of extra stuff. And I was watching a guy I watch these things on YouTube. This Oliver, somebody or other, does all these reviews, and he's like a British guy or something. And he was talking about, he goes, I saw that movie when I was a kid on TV or VHS or something, and he goes, it's hard to watch it without all those other scenes put in. Now, I have the Superman 1, a 3-hour version of that, where they just took everything that was cut out and threw it back in, and it does sort of, you can sort of see why they took some stuff out. Like, there was this whole thing between Luther and Otis. Oh my God, they were like, he was like a sadist to him.
What was it, Otisville? Was it Otisville?
Yeah.
And they do the big reveal, because remember at the beginning, Hackman took the hair, only did the bald bit at the end or whatever. But there's all that funny stuff, too, about the casting. At first, they wanted all these names.
I know.
But, like, James Caan, he said he didn't want to wear the... Can you imagine James Caan playing Superman?
Yeah. Well, Donner was smart. He stuck with his guns, and he was... I mean, that movie still holds up as probably the premiere that started the whole thing off, you know?
No, and remember at the time it was like mind-boggling, $100 million for a movie?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
Think about it.
And I think, did they film a lot of Superman 2 at the same time like they did with the
Yeah,
Three Musketeers?
it was intended to be a continuation.
Yeah, now the one we don't want to talk about, Superman 4.
Yeah.
The 1 hour and 20-minute movie that seems like 3 hours.
Well, even that had some cool deleted scenes because there was like a Bizarro creature.
Yeah, there was Bizarro.
And, I mean, that would have been interesting. I bought one with a commentary, and, you know, the guy just said, you know, they just started pressuring me to cut it and cut it and cut it, and, you know, what are you going to do? It's the same thing with Daredevil. I bought a director's cut of Daredevil.
Now, that's awesome. I've heard that's really good.
It's really good.
See, I defend that movie. I don't think that, and I think that Colin Farrell was excellent as Bullseye. Michael Clark Duncan, who else are you going to get for Kingpin?
That was a great... And the director's cut was really good, because there was courtroom scenes, and there was like... They delved in, just like that Ultimate Edition of Batman versus Superman. When they put in the extra scenes, the story makes more sense. I just got done watching that Justice is Gray. Have you seen that?
No.
It's on HBO Max. Basically, what it is, it's Zack Snyder's Justice League, but it's got every scene.
Oh, that you mean the whole thing? Yeah, I've seen the.
But it's in black and white.
Oh, that one I haven't seen.
It's really cool, and they CGI'd the hell out of Steppenwolf. He's like glittery, and he's like
Did he sing Born to Be Wild?
Yeah.
Now the weird thing that gets me though, like as comic fans, even I didn't know who he was at first. I had to go back to the books because he's like one of Darkseid.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In this Justice is Gray thing, they explain his whole reasoning why he needs to do this so badly. He was cast out.
Yeah.
And all this, but you don't get any of that in the original. So
no, and now they're having this stuff about the Flash because of it.
Oh, I know. That looks good,
It looks like a really good movie, but it's like, it stinks when they, but now I think like the guy who's playing Kang, and the Marvel, something he played, he was in Creed 3. I think he had some legal problems now too.
Oh, yeah?
That stinks when you filmed everything.
Yeah.
I like Kang. I think Kang's a really good villain.
When I look at these trailers for that Flash, I think it's cool they have Superboy in that.
They have that. They have
Michael Keaton,
Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
They should have a CGI Adam West. They can do it now. That's the scary part. We're going to get to the part
hologram.
Where you could watch, like, we're going to have a Star Trek series. It's going to be the whole original cast is CGI.
Right.
Then I'm not following this AI stuff at all.
No. Yeah, it gets kind of weird. Well, I know, like, you know, McCartney does that with, you know, singing a song with Lennon and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, he does two of us. I think he pops up on the screen. It's actually a video online of it on YouTube where it comes up.
I'll have to check
they have John Lennon. In Queen, didn't they do like a hologram of Freddie Mercury for like one song? Pretty soon we'll just be able to go see the Beatles if you want.
I know.
It's weird. That's strange too. I think how time passed. Like my brother's band, New Math, they're putting out. Like over 40 years ago, they're putting out like a re-release, and they're going to have some concerts in July.
Nice.
Isn't it weird how things come around?
I would love to see that.
Well,
to go.
Could probably get you on that.
Is Roy going to play with them?
Roy, Gary, only one who doesn't do it, and this isn't any news. It's like we know like how Greg Hurley's done with the Chesterfield Kings. Kevin Patrick's just. It's like one of those things he did, and he has no interest. So I forgot they had Johnny Cummings before. They have somebody searching.
He's good.
Somebody, but he's he's busy too. But we should have Johnny on the show. Johnny, come on.
Yeah.
But somebody's going to sing. But,
but
there's a set out now that it's going to be, it's an 11, you could pre-order it. That it's a 11 songs. Angela, Die Trying, Can't Get Off the Ground. And you could watch if you could see like it's almost a 20-minute concert from 31's on stage with them.
Very cool. That'd be good to see. I like watching. I mean, somebody
Isn't
gave
it
me.
freaky though. I mean, did you ever look at yourself like from 40 years ago?
Yes, I have a few videos from the Penny Arcade and stuff. Pretty interesting. I mean, wow. I said, man, I could play.
Then you'd freak out. Somebody sees it and go, "You had a son?"
Yeah, right. But somebody long time ago, I played with this guy in a band, and he has since passed away. But he was a great guy. And his cousin was Mike Marconi, that played in Whale and played in Alice Cooper's band. So he gave me that. It's a CD of the Whale at the Coronet Theater, and it's really good. I listened to that, and I'm just going, wait a minute, these guys were a blues band, and you know, you didn't think of it back then. You're thinking, oh, they were heavy, but like Zeppelin, they were playing blues. But we didn't think about it as blues when we were kids.
Well, that's it was the Bill Polka Blues for Black Sabbath.
Right.
Or Earth or blues band. But one thing I read, I've been reading I've been really into Sabbath lately.
So as you can see, we do go all over the place here, so bear with us.
Well, there's Supernaut.
That's right.
But I guess what they said, like Zeppelin, Sabbath, Purple, a lot of them, the reason the critics hated them is because they blindsided them, because they didn't know they were going to be popular really fast.
Right.
But, so, maybe it's the carnival. You think we're just going to talk about
You know, but when I read these histories of these bands and their resumes and stuff, and it just they make it sound so like, well, then he quit this band, then he got in this band, and then it's like, they make it sound like it's so simple to just jump in another band and make a record.
Or
like
literally, like when I read the Stones, it's like they got together, they got an album, they started making music, they were popular.
Yeah.
Sounds like so easy. Like
I know, it's crazy.
Like, I'm just going to join a band, get my limo and everything else.
Yeah.
But have you seen
I bought it.
Superman, did you watch Lois and Clark?
Yeah.
See, I liked Lois and Clark.
That was a good show.
And I think what they did is they realized, okay, the one criticism you could have is like of the villains and stuff. They didn't, but I thought like Trickster, like Mr. Mixopiddlix was hilarious.
They did a good job with him in the Superboy show.
But know, it's like how they did like John Shea with Luther. He just sort of went away though.
Yeah.
And they tried to have Inner Gang.
Right.
But I found out later the reason they did the marriage thing was they were building up. That's why they killed Superman off in the comic, was because they were going to build up to a marriage, but they want the TV show to catch up.
Right.
As soon as they did that, the TV show went
Yep. That's the way it goes. I know. Nobody wanted. They just liked the anticipation, but they didn't really want it to resolve.
But I like that show.
Kind of like Coitus Interruptus. You know what I mean?
I guess, and whatever else. But
Marriage Interruptus.
Do you have, like, in terms of the comic, do you have, like, an era you really like? Or I know Kurt Swan's always...
I always liked Kurt Swan.
But then you go, like, again,
I hated Kurt Schaffenberger, the guy that did the Lois Lane. I don't know, for some reason, he just bugged me. His style bugged me. But I don't like any of the new guys. I don't like the new art at all. It's sketchy.
It's Caitlin Yarsky plug, but
I just don't care for it.
You know what was probably you would love this. Maybe they'll have it at Ollie's. This is one of my Superman for all seasons. Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale.
Oh, okay.
And they
do
like almost like American Gothic, where it's like just beautiful art.
Yeah.
Everything like the small town.
I think
you might have it even.
Well, I remember I saw All-Star Superman. I think they did an animated version of that.
Yeah, they did. That's an awesome story though. All-Star Superman with like the sun and everything. That's like there was a Grant Morrison and I think Brian Hitch. I think.
I'll tell you who I really liked. There was a guy in the 40s that did Superman after Schuster or whoever the art. I forget which one was the artist.
I goofed that up all the time too.
But there was another guy that did him, and he captured it. He really it was a good look. And I have that in a book. I have a book, Superman from the 30s to the 70s. It's a big, like, coffee table book.
They have them at Ollie's, I think.
This one is good, though. It's got it's got this weird story, very surreal story called The Case of the Funny Paper Crimes. And they're reading the comics section, right? And there's like they go, Lois and Clark go to the movies, and there's a Superman cartoon on in the movies, and he has to like, oh wait, I got to get rid of her right now because she's going to see me change. And it's like very fourth wall. It's really cool. Like, and that's 1940,
One of
the
funniest, there was a 70s comic. This guy's like a big game hunter or something. So what he does, he's goofing around. There's a picture of Clark Kent. There's a picture of Superman in the paper. He draws glasses on it.
Right.
He's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, I don't know, I guess you have to be modern, like the whole, like I admit, like with you, how many times has DC revised stuff?
Yeah. Well, stuff gets old and people go, oh, come on, you can't, and then they try to make it more realistic, but the fantasy's half the fun of it.
Yeah, well, you think, yeah, go on.
Well, like when I was younger, I used to buy different comics. Every now and then I bought a couple Phantom comics, which I thought was really good, the Jungle Guy, the Phantom. There's another version of the Phantom. I bought a DVD, and it's a 2-disc set. I watched the first half. I gotta watch the second half. But there's this kid, and they track him down, and they discover that he's in line with the family. So he's the new Phantom, and they give him this more high-tech suit, and he's got like a hood, and it's more contemporary, but it's a pretty good story.
I mean, you go think about the Fantastic Four. Weren't they like World War II vets? So you got to sort of just have the leap of faith and everything. Or like if you're really aged comic book characters.
Right.
And then the references obviously wear out and everything else. But it's escapism. It should be fun. You have to take it seriously.
I mean, that's the whole idea of it. I mean, I've been watching these things. I watched, what the heck was it? There's a lot of stuff on that Tubi channel. They showed this thing called Phantom Space Patrol, and it's like a series, right? And it's okay, but it's got some of the hokey sets and stuff. But again, if you look at that Adventures of Superman from the 50s, for a television version, their sets were good. They looked like real rooms. They looked like the furnishings were, they went to the trouble of making it look like something. And it was like movie people making this TV show. Whereas these other things, they're like cardboard walls and doors and, you could tell it's phony, But it's like, and they go, oh, the effects are shitty. But look at some of these other stuff that was around that time and you'll really see some crummy effects.
Yeah, that was like somebody said the criticism of the Phantom Menace for Star Wars. It's bad dialogues, bad effects. And somebody said, well, look at the original Star Wars.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. But I also would have loved that. So these days, what do? You plug something into a computer, green screen. Imagine you had the creativity where you had to come up with Flash Gordon, where you had to do this. Like I still love looking at
the Flash Gordon serial.
The models. Great. I like to look at the strings of them.
And the sparklers coming out.
The sparklers flying out or whatever out. Or didn't they use car lights a lot of times for stars?
Yeah.
I know for lasers, what they did for is they banged on telephone wires on a telephone pole, the laser effect.
See, sound effects has always intrigued me when I was a kid. I watched a couple things on how they did sound effects, and it's pretty interesting. Like I watched this one thing, they took a sandbox, and they put, I guess sand or something in it. But
a sandbox? No, I don't believe you. No.
But what they did was, it was supposed to be a scene of somebody skiing. And of them hitting the snow and stuff, so they had these guys jumping in the thing, and they would mic it up, and they would record it. And I watched this Walter Lantz, remember the Woody Woodpecker?
Oh,
he did a thing once. I remember all these things. I don't know how, but they explained how they did fire. They did fire with cellophane. If you take a piece of cellophane and crinkle it up, it sounds like fire.
It's like actually, yeah.
And stuff like that. And it's to me, that was just so intriguing.
There was one I saw. We used to be Kids Are People too, that show. But this kid did a little movie, with a monster, and he does a laser beam, right? This was so cool to me. It's how did you do the laser beam? I took my nail I ran it across the film. So
But
one of the best was the Killer Shrews where they dressed in dogs.
Yeah. And put the teeth in.
The teeth.
Yikes.
I don't know if that would be humane now, but it was.
Well, what was that one movie? I've seen it. I watched a couple of these specials on Tubi, the Atomic Age of movies, and they were talking about the reason why a lot of these movies got started from the Cold War and the Atomic Age and whatnot. And that one, the Beast from the Haunted Cave, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, the movie was great up until when the monster comes out. And then it just went to hell.
There was one I saw when I was a kid, Gregory the Grave Walker, was called Sound of Horror. And it was
never
about,
saw that.
I'll let you borrow it. You could find it on those 50 disc things.
Yeah.
I found it, but it scared the heck out of me. What it was like, they're going to this cave. It's like, there's like some ore. There's this thing, this dinosaur killing him, but you couldn't see it. It was like radioactive.
Right.
All you could see was the footsteps. It was horrifying. Not when I saw it again.
Yeah.
But the worst part, it's scary, it's terrifying, till they finally showed us.
You know what's a pretty good fairly modern horror is Pitch Black. You ever seen
Vin
that?
Diesel?
That is one creepy movie, man. I
just saw
I like
one
that movie.
Called The Old Man, about a guy who gets caught in this cabin in the woods with this goofy old guy.
Yeah.
That was trippy.
That sounds good.
No, it's really sort of, it's like, you'll have to guess, like there's a lot of weird things going on there. But here's what you want: Pure Camp. 1970s, the tales of the Battle of the Super Friends.
Oh, yeah.
The live action Mordu. They had like a roast
Yeah.
of all like the heroes.
I think I've seen some of that.
I got it.
Frank
I found a
Gorshin's on
copy
that,
with
right?
the Riddler.
Yeah.
They've got like Adam West. They got Batman. They've got Hawkman.
Yeah.
It's like they've got, I think, Mordu's water skiing. Sinestro.
I started to watch that. That was on Tubi.
This is like beyond.
Yeah.
It's like so funny. It's like awesome.
But at least they had the characters that you don't get to see.
No, but like for like Superman now, the one guy, like, have you seen Krypton?
Yeah, that was a good show.
That was good, and I think finally Brainiac gets done a little bit, because I always think Brainiac.
Is that even still on?
No, it's gone. They had Brainiac and Doomsday.
I saw parts of the first
and
season.
Adam Strange.
Yeah.
It only went 2 seasons, but that one I wish they would have done was the Tim Burton Superman Lives.
Yeah, oh God.
Can
that
you
sounded
imagine?
terrible.
I guess like Kevin Smith still, there's scripts out there.
Yeah, giant spider and some other
So you got to have a
stuff.
spider.
Yeah.
But I guess Kevin Smith, he'll sign the script if you give it to him, and he'll write "fuck Tim Burton." Can you imagine there was that one skit about leaving? It had like Superman as Nicolas Cage from leaving Las Vegas into a phone booth.
You know, that's such a weird world, because can you imagine? You get commissioned to do a screenplay, you do it, it never happens. I mean, you probably got paid for it, but it's like, what was the point of all that work? And then they just don't. Well, I want you to write up a treatment. Okay,
That
so you
happens
do
all
it.
the time. Like people will get like almost $1 million for a script, and it'll never. Send us $1 million for a Carnival movie that's never made.
I know. Hey, I can make a flop really easy.
I was reading like books. These authors, they'll get like $500,000. Sylvester Stallone, who was broke, they want to buy his script for Rocky for like $500,000. Can you imagine having the guts to say no? I'm going to star in it when you're broke.
Right. Have you seen that King of Tulsa? That's a good show. That's a really cool show.
He's underrated when he wants to be. Like Burt Reynolds. I think Burt Reynolds is underrated because when he wants to act, he can act.
Yeah, right.
I think some of them, they don't get that, but I mean, they play all like these, kind of roles, these popular roles. You don't realize they can act.
Well, it's a tough line to walk when you're a character. When you're a character, you have to sort of act the same all the time. You know what I mean? Like, I've been watching that show, FBI. And it's another Dick Wolf show, so, Law and Order and all those. And every show is the same. It's the same format. It's just, they just interject different villain or different criminals, and it's kind of like a superhero thing. It's just like, it's the same story. Okay, this guy's trying to get a bomb, or this guy's trying to do a fraud, or, they try to catch him, they run, then they get him in the interrogation. He's not the guy. Then there's more twists, and then but it follows a formula. But it's interesting, and it's a guilty pleasure of mine. So.
And if it's well done and you enjoy it, that's the biggest thing I suppose on like the show is like, we have our likes, we have our dislikes. It's like, you like what you like.
It's
whatever.
a winning formula. If you come up with a formula, you're going to keep it.
You know, when you enjoy something, you might, like, I might not like it or everything. Like I'm a jerk about music sometimes with some people's taste, but if you like it, you like it. Hey, those bands sell a lot more than I would if I were
that's
up
right.
there and everything. And they're doing something somebody likes.
Well, that's why I enjoy, and I'm glad people look at original music now a little differently than they used to. There's more of a market for it now. Because if you got good music and you put it across...
I try. That's what we try on here. I still try to get, some friends who, I'll just please, just give it a chance sometime, but they just want to listen to what they know, and they're, stuck.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But, I even said, I like the Bangles, and I made, sort of a hush about, I did go to Idols and Scourges, and Mike Moore was like, well, they played Scourges.
There's times I go to a place, though, and I watch a band... And I just can't watch them. I just go, man, who are these guys? And it's like, and I
can't either.
I always joked with my buddy Eric Davidson. I said, some of these guys, it looks like they got off the couch from watching TV and they just went to the gig. They still got their white sneakers on and there's, T-shirts and it's like, will you please at least try to look like you're in a band?
And I don't smear people on the show, but they open... I used to go see a shout out to Pat Barry, a great guy, he lives in Kentucky, but we used to go see Crazy Train, his Ozzy cover band. And just it became a thing, a bunch of friends, we got to know them. I'm still in touch with Pat. But there's this one band that opened for him. It's like the weirdest band I've ever seen. It's like they all looked like they popped them out of a cartoon from different bands.
Right.
Like the one guy's the sloppy t-shirt. Other guy looks like you pulled them out of a 70s country band.
Right.
They all look different. Everything else. None of them I don't think they even bother.
The Cheap Trick approach. Speaking of which.
But that's the one thing on Cheap Trick, too. I noticed, on the first couple albums, like second and third, they keep the weirdos in the back cover.
Yeah, right.
The teen beat. It's like keeping the weird uncle up in the closet.
Yeah. That's an interesting image, to have no image. Their image is no image.
I saw some early pictures of when Rick Nielsen had the curly hair.
Oh, I never saw that.
Looks like Danny Elfman. But you're going to be going to see them.
Yeah, this Friday coming up.
So go see
Greg.
Greg will sign autographs if he's there and you see him, and and post your pictures, maybe $5.
They had some crazy thing for $200 and something a ticket, where a meet and greet, you get a drum head and you get some other crap. I was not going to do that.
I admit, for a second, there was $600. It was a meet and greet with Alice Cooper. I thought about it for a millisecond. And I'm like, no.
Millisecond. Yeah.
I did for a second, though. It's like you could put your head in the guillotine.
You know who's really good? Oh, that'd be cool, though. You know who's really good at that? Michael Franti. Have you ever seen him?
Yeah.
We went to see him a couple times, Buffalo and some other, and he will actually go somewhere after, an adjoining building or something, and he'll actually just stand there. He'll stand there and talk to you, pictures. He really works at it.
You know who did that?
Actually, and he doesn't make you feel like, well, this is a privilege. He has fun doing it.
Willie Nelson.
Yeah.
Willie Nelson, when he played jazz, he sat down on stage afterwards, talked to people. Penn and Teller do it. And Johnny Cash. When he saw his Christmas show at the Auditorium Theater in the 90s, him in June, it's snowing, they just came, they stood outside, they stood at the back of the Auditorium Theater. Anybody who wanted anything, and you know who else did it is Ronnie James Dio. He said he would be there till 5 a.m. He said everybody who wants something gets it signed.
That's good.
You know how he learned that, though? Besides being a good guy? Because Richie Blackmore was such an asshole
when
they were in Rainbow.
Well, people forget that if you didn't have fans, you wouldn't be selling these records.
Hey, I don't care. One of the best stories I heard about Richie was he had 2 bottles. A fan sees him in the hall. He's got 2 bottles of wine. He's like, Mr. Blackmore. And I guess Richie Blackmore, he hates, oh, Richie, you're great. You got to expect that, right? But he just goes, Richie, can I have your autograph? Richie stops, doesn't say a word, gives him the bottles of wine. I would take that.
Yeah, but would you drink it?
I know, I just keep it in. Yeah. I get the fingerprints on it.
Right, hey, there you go.
But this hour is soared by. We're glad to be back on the Carnival. And hopefully we'll be fairly regular. We've had, shout out to everybody who's injured, infirmed.
I've had my prunes, yes.
Yes, Greg's had his prunes. But we'll be trying to have some good old favorites back, some guests.
You'll be happy when we have guests on. You won't have to listen to us.
Yeah, and we'll be here when we be here. We can't say we'll be here every week, but the carnival abides as always.
That's right.
But we're going to have today, because Greg's not going to sing a cappella. Now, I saw Grace and Megan were just in town. I was telling them, and Grace was a big help. She's like, pick whatever truck moves you. But you should see Grosh if they come in town sometime. They're from Buffalo. They're just lots of fun. They play bunsies a lot. There's a thing called the Girls of Grosh, which is Grace and Megan.
Okay.
They're playing at Smoking Hot Chicks. They just played Abilene.
Oh, yeah?
And don't talk to Megan during break because she has to pee, and it's okay if I say that because she says it.
Yeah, I got to do something at Smoking Hot Chicks. We're gonna for that steel rail thing in Fairport.
But she can. But they're all really nice. They're really good. Grace kills, and she's been in a lot of different bands. But if you'd like to, I have their 2 albums here, and since they didn't help me, one's called Not Down for Long, the other one's called Whether or Not You Know, and I don't know what to play. So if you would just like to look quickly at the song titles and pick one, and we'll blame it on the drummer. How about those Mets? I guess they're playing while I'm trying to fill the time now while Greg is scanning this.
Well, let's see.
Does anybody eat Fruit Loops or Tricks for breakfast anymore? Cheap Tricks.
Well, there's a song here called I Bet You Did. That sounds kind of interesting.
Okay, we'll play that one then.
Number 7.
Okay, we'll play from Grosh. I Bet You Did. Check them out. They're playing all over Buffalo. They play Sportsman Tavern, Jackrabbit. Very energetic show. They do covers. They do originals. Wow. They don't do windows.
I gotta see.
I'll tell you when they're in town.
Yeah, please do. I always love to check bands out because you seem to have more of your finger on this than I do. I just can't. I blame Michaela Davis, blame Alex Cote and everyone. I saw Danger Bird. They had a gig beforehand. I'm too busy trying to keep my calendar straight.
Gary Traynor, they're playing at the Infrared Radio Orchestra Fest on June 2nd.
Oh, 3rd. We're doing that one.
You are? Oh,
yeah.
You too?
Yeah.
Get them all together. I can't be there the whole day.
We should try to get him on.
Yeah, him and Roy?
Yeah.
I have connections. We should. Roy always says he's going to be on.
Yeah, get, what's his name from Infrared?
Kim again?
Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd be good.
I think he lives in Seneca, but I'll ask him. I have to get my CD too. I already pre-ordered
So,
it.
who would you like to see and hear on the Carnival of Randomness? Send us your request to Carnival of Randomness, P.O. Box 222, Kankakee, Illinois. Thank you.
Cool. No, you're playing that? I didn't even know. I looked at the lineup. It's on June 30th. There's 2 of them. There's one at Radio Social. There's one at House of Guitars.
We're doing both of them.
Oh, Devil's Pension, though. This is like they play Die Trying. It's like good old, but the thing I want to say, Danger Bird, they had another gig. So this was like the latest I've been out.
And this is a secret, but every band is going to do something special. But I can't talk about it. Kim made a big deal that you can't talk about it.
I will say no more. Cone of silence.
But
thanks for listening and listen to Grosh, and thanks for putting up with us 2 idiots.
Yes, especially me.
And see you next time.
Bye.
Words run off your lips so smooth. I listen in silence as you didn't tell her the truth. It hurt to hear that come so easy. Though I know you meant no harm, I already thought you were leading someone on. And based on how well you did, I bet she's not the only one. And there wasn't even one good reason, but she was quickly fooled by your charms. Oh, how many times have you lied to me? Your honest eyes could fool me any day. Oh, how many times have you lied to me? Oh no, I don't think that you're doing what you say. And all those nights you said you just needed rest. I'm wondering who you're with, but I keep hoping for the best. You told her the same things you said to my face. I wanna know how you really feel, but you keep pushing me away. Oh, how many times have you lied to me? Your honest eyes could fool me any day. Oh, how many times have you lied to me? Oh no, I don't think that you're doing what you say. And all those times that you never came, when you promised me you would. Your stories all begin to sound the same. I bet you lied. I bet you lied. I bet you lied. Oh, I bet you lied. Hey, hey, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Many times have you lied to me? No, I don't think that you're doing what you say. Oh no, I don't think that you're